Hello, everyone. I'm Gene Quinn, and welcome to this quick snippet about IP leadership. I'm here with Kirti Gupta from Qualcomm, and Kirti has been the driving force between IP leadership, and we're here to learn a little bit more about what IP leadership is and what IP Leadership 2022 is going to talk about. Thanks for joining me, Kirti.
Thanks for having me, Jean.
So, for those people who aren't familiar with IP leadership, can you tell us a little bit about the program?
Sure. Jean, leadership brings together key influencers, policymakers, and industry leaders for analyzing the most pressing policy issues on the geopolitics of technology, innovation, IP, and competition, and really the nexus among all of these. Since 2014, leadership has drawn thousands of attendees in 15 global events and over a dozen co sponsors that come together to host these conversations that I think shape industries and economies. It really, in that way, filled a gap that existed. And the pandemic and the current events have now highlighted the importance of innovation, technology leadership, and building a safer and resilient society. So I think it's a great time for us to gather in person again. And we're going back live in DC on April 5th. Can't wait to be there.
Yeah. Now I call it IP leadership, but it's really leadership, and then the last IP in the word leadership is capitalized, correct? For emphasis.
That's exactly right. And because IP is so important in this discussion, visit us on our website at www.ipleadership.org.
Yeah. So now when you're going to be in DC, and I'll be there with you because IP Watchdog is a proud co-sponsor of the event on April 5th. What is Leadership 2022 going to discuss this year?
This year has shown us that conflict, war, these are not unavoidable. There are important big picture policy questions being asked today about technological leadership, national security. So, any discussion we have on innovation or intellectual property or competition has to be within that context. So, this year, leadership brings about important questions vis a vis 5G standards or semiconductors and asks the question of, do we have the right policy pillars to lead for important issues that are facing our nation and the world today, and what is it that we need to do to pivot to use the policy tools in the best way possible.
Mm. And this conference is really going to bring together IP leaders and national defense leaders, right? I mean, because you are now at CSIS along with Andre Yanku, former director of the Patent Office, and Walt Copen, who was former director of NIST, and really bringing to light IP issues in the national security context.
That's the goal, Jean. Thank you for highlighting that. At CSIS, we are working on the Renewing American Innovation Project to underline, again, the importance of IP and standards, the new frontiers of our times for these big questions that we are facing today. And I think combining those communities is critical for us to identify what would be the most sensible path forward. We can no longer afford to have discussions on IP or innovation or competition policy in isolation. We have to talk with each other. We have to talk with the national security, tech sovereignty experts, people whose agenda it is to determine the economic growth goals for the country, and then use IP and competition as tools to achieve or help achieve those broader goals.
Yeah, so this is not going to be your ordinary IP conference. It's going to be really the next step, and it's going to be a very good discussion on April 5th in Washington D.C. Hopefully, you'll all be able to join us. I'll be there. Kirti will be there, and many people in the IP leadership and in the national security leadership, thought leadership, will be there for a very interesting conversation. Hopefully, you'll be able to join us. Look forward to seeing you there.
Looking forward to seeing you all there. Thank you, Jean.
Thanks, Kirti.